as he spun away. 2 more slashed across his chest. The wounds weren't deep enough to be dangerous. The bloodletting intended to weaken, not to kill. The vision of a Madrid bullfight swam through his head. Picadores. Priest's left hook caught him high on the head, sending Jack staggering backward, taking another cut on his right side before he recovered. Priest followed up with a spinning sidekick aimed at his head, a mistake that allowed Jack to hook Priest's foot beneath his right arm. The leg sweep that followed dropped Priest onto his broken arm. Lifting the leg, Jack put all his power into a kick that caught Priest in the groin. As a knife again sliced at his back, Jack released Priest and lunged sideways, catching the knife wielder by the wrist and thumb. His motion twisting the arm over and back, opening the man's throat to the blow that crushed his windpipe. Before the knife could slip from the dying man's fingers, Jack redirected it into a second gang member's stomach. There are moments when surprise and shock are your only allies, and Jack embraced this one, falling upon the other 4, wielding a kukri in each hand. Taking another cut across his chest, he slashed the throat of the nearest gangster and spun under another thrust, his long knife removing the attacking hand at the wrist. His subsequent thrust spilled the man's guts onto his dying friend. Sensing movement to his left, Jack twisted sideways, but not quite fast enough. A razor-sharp blade pierced his left side below his ribcage, just before Jack's counter-thrust dropped the man on his face. The last of the Gurkharis stepped backward, but when Jack staggered, the Gurkhari lunged to fill the opening, a look of shock widening his eyes as Jack's right heel caught him in the throat, crushing his trachea and dropping him to the ground. The blow left the man gagging, vainly struggling to draw breath through his broken air passage. Jack watched as his battle came to a rattling, wheezing end, then returned his attention to Priest. But Priest was gone. Taking a half-dozen steps forward, Jack swept the alley with his gaze, but there was no sign of the man. A wave of frustration engulfed him, sapping the last of his strength and dropping him to his knees. Then, as the Nepali knife slipped from his bloody fingers, the ground rose up to kiss him good night. Sister Mary Judith limped slowly through the darkened slum that had been her home the last 48 years of her fading life. Her right shoe hurt her foot more than usual tonight, but her bunions weren't likely to get better, and compared to the poor people whose souls she sought to save and whose bodies her clinic treated, she had no complaints. Tonight, that clinic had failed a 3-year-old child and the woman whose tears still dampened Sister Mary Judith's shoulder. Malaria had taken the little girl from her mother's arms and into God's. Solara, such a beautiful name, a name that had been repeatedly sobbed into her left ear as the mother wept in her old arms. She was so lost in the memory that she failed to notice the running man until he staggered into her, knocking Sister Mary Judith to the ground. Although pain lanced through her left hand, she did not cry out, but the cry of pain from the running man followed him into the darkness. Rubbing her wrist, the sister flexed her fingers. It wasn't broken. She'd always been blessed with strong bones, and thankfully, her advancing years had failed to rob her of that blessing. Apparently, the Lord needed her bones strong so she could continue to aid these people. Struggling back to her feet, Sister Mary Judith glanced in the direction the man had disappeared. What had he been running from? Not really running, more of a barely controlled stagger, with one arm hanging limply at his side. Something had so terrified him that he had forced himself to flee despite injuries that would have curled a strong man into a fetal ball. Turning to look in the direction from which the man had come, a new thought occurred to her. He couldn't have come that far from whoever had injured him. If it had been a gang fight, perhaps others lay injured or dying. Sister Mary Judith turned her steps in that direction.